I'm going to be honest with you. I have hated every single thing I have ever uploaded on this channel. Every short film, every video essay, every short I've ever posted. The podcast is the only thing I like about this channel, and it's because I barely talk during the episodes. I set out on this journey because I wanted to become a good filmmaker. Because I saw people like Kane Parsons, who is so young and is probably going to have his film nominated for an Oscar. And yeah, sure, I knew that I wasn't going to be some Scorsese off the bat, but at least I thought it would be passable. What do all these gifted people have that I don't? Sometimes I'm inclined to believe that God really does have favorites, but I know that's not true. There are plenty of other bad filmmakers out there, and just as many good ones too. But what's the difference? I can analyze any film and tell you the things I liked and the things I didn't. But it seems like there's something missing, something I need to notice in order to weed out the bad from the good, and really improve as an artist. And I intend to find it. I am going to find the answer to what makes great art. But first, I need to answer a different question. Who am I? For now, you can call me founder. I made Fashion Inc. because I'm passionate about art, and I want to see great art in the world, but sadly, Hollywood and the rest of the mainstream simply isn't making the art that I want to see. So I made this channel, not just to promote my art, but also the art of upcoming artists all over the world. People that want to create with the same fury as me and make sure that the passion is incorporated into every art piece they make. We all want to become great artists. But to do that, first we need to decide what great art really is. We can all recognize it when we see it. It's the art that makes us cry like no other, the one that makes us laugh like no other, the one that can transport us into a new world or bring us to one that we thought we'd forgotten about. That's great art. But what is it really? What's the thing that makes it tick? The thing that sets it apart from everything else? Why can some art bring us to tears while others can only make us cringe? What about it is capable of moving us so much? What is the defining feature that's missing from all of my art? Well, let's take it back to 10th grade English and compare and contrast. Like I mentioned before, for the most part, we can already tell when something is a masterpiece or an absolute piece of garbage. But what do we mean when we say that? Well, when we say that something is bad or good, then that thing must be bad or good at something, some role that art is trying to fulfill. Once we know what that role is, the purpose of art, we can say whether it is good or bad. You might be tempted to say that different mediums have different purposes, that you can't judge a painting on the same scale you could a movie. So let's follow that line of thought and begin with possibly the first art form, the visual arts. What is the purpose of the visual arts? The obvious answer is visual appeal. A painting is meant to be seen, so good art is something we like to look at, something that's beautiful to the eyes. That's why an art piece like The Comedian, something so plain and boring as a banana on a wall, is categorically bad or worse than something like The School of Athens, where the detailed and busy composition draws in your eyes. Right? Well, I don't think so. It can't be right, because once you dig a little deeper, you find tons of artists like Basquiat, Mondrian, and Andy Warhol, all of which create pieces that are arguably not pleasing to look at. But these artists are universally recognized as masters of the art world, and I think they deserve every bit of it. But then, what is the purpose of art if it isn't there to look pretty? I could drag this out and do a long analysis, but I'll go straight to the point. The purpose of art, all art, is one thing. It's communication. Think about it. All art serves the purpose of communicating something. Ideas, emotions, facts, ideals, memories. Every single art piece you can think of is trying to communicate something to you, and the greats of the craft can do it better than anybody else. A movie should, from a single frame, be able to communicate a vast amount of information already. But how do you get there to the point where you can communicate with so little? Every brushstroke, every frame, every note. I'm still figuring that one out. But I think the key to all great art is intention. You can think of art like a debate, but just a million times harder. You're trying to convince the audience, convince them to think the way you want them to think, to feel the way you want them to feel, to remember the things you want them to remember, and so much more. And at every turn, the audience is trying to resist you. This isn't always the case, but if you want your art to reach as many people as possible, you will always consider those who are oppositional to you. You want to make your greatness undeniable, not circumstantial. So let's look closely at how to debate better than anybody else. In a debate, every word holds meaning, or at least they need to hold meaning. They need to be intentionally spoken because then your opponent will use it against you and turn it into something you didn't mean. In art, if every aspect of it is not intentional, not serving some kind of purpose, then the audience will be pulled out of the experience, irritated, bored, or so many other things. You need to intentionally build every or most detail in your story, movie, or painting to redirect the audience into the core aspects of what you're trying to communicate. To prove it, let's do a comparison. Yes, again. I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of full feature-length movies that are free to watch on YouTube. Most come from these channels that pump out one every week or so, and of course there are real people working on these movies. Some of which might actually be trying to make it big in the dangerous world of West Hollywood. So I don't want this to be a personal attack on the cast or crew, but instead an analysis of the movies themselves. So let's take a look at a random one like Finding Love in St. Lucia. Let's look at one of the beginning scenes where two reporters who are apparently used to date are talking before going live.
Didn't I do this story already?
Mm-hmm. Twice. They finally gave it to me to do it right.
I guess they're running out of conspiracy theories to debunk. I don't have any notes for the closing segment.
Probably because you didn't make any notes.
You're the best.
We're back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and
17 cuts. 17 cuts in just 36 seconds. Now, there's nothing wrong with fast-paced cutting. It can be done well, just look at incredible movies like the Jason Bourne trilogy. But of course, it can also be done wrong, like in So what's the difference? Well, in St. Lucia, the cuts feel sort of random, like the director and cinematographer put them there out of obligation of showing the action, instead of actually communicating some idea. In The Bourne Identity, the editing is there to show off the fast-paced whirl of a fight, often showing shots where only a part of Matt Damon or his rival are visible, adding to the disorienting effect and putting us in Bourne's shoes, as we can't see the entire action of his adversary. And instead, just a flying arm here and swinging leg there, really pulling us into the scrappiness of the fight. Now look back at St. Lucia.
Twice. They finally gave it to me to do it right.
Here it cuts from a shot of the female newscaster to a shot of the female newscaster. What are we supposed to take away from this? The camera puts the male newscaster out of focus, even though the female newscaster is addressing him more directly in the second shot. To her, he is the focus of this conversation. The camera work is directly opposite to the dialogue. What information does this shot give that the other one didn't? What meaning does it have in context of the other shots around it? Why does this shot even exist? Well, there is no apparent reason, and that's the problem. Of course, you can have contradictions in your arts and convey a greater meaning, but I really doubt that My Time Movies Now is trying to do that, and honestly I refuse to watch the entire movie to find out. But let's in turn look towards a movie that we know is in fact intentional in every aspect of its craft. Your Name, directed by Makoto Shinkai. For those who don't know, this movie is a Freaky Friday plot following two teenagers that eventually fall in love with each other. And this movie is filled with stunning scenes and visuals, all with clear meaning that they communicate effectively. Like this scene from the climax where Taki, the boy, reaches left and Mitsuha, the girl, reaches to the right. They are reaching for each other even though they're not in the same place, wanting to be with one another despite it not being possible. This is the very story of the film, but then the director Makoto Shinkai subverts this by having them literally be in the same place due to the magic of the story. Face to face for the first time, with a beautiful orange and red light behind them from the sunset. The frame is also symmetrical with Taki and Mitsuha. In visual storytelling, warm colors can sometimes be representative of a welcoming, home-like feeling. Symmetry can be representative of perfection, everything being where it should. So all of these aspects reinforces the emotion of the scene, of finally being with your better half. And then the sunset comes to an end, and the darkness reigns over the frame, and the symmetry is broken, mirroring perfectly the tragedies that these characters are feeling, that you probably felt when you first saw this film. This is a truly perfect scene. But of course, this isn't a fair comparison. This is the climax of the movie. The entire film has been leading up to this point. Anyone could put a mountain of effort into a 3-minute sequence. But great artists shouldn't only be intentional in small bursts, but in everything they do. So let's take a look at a more banal scene. In this scene, much earlier in the movie, Mitsuha is having breakfast with her grandma and her younger sister, when they are interrupted by a radio broadcast about Mitsuha's dad's election campaign. Notice how the camera is tilting slightly up to see the radio, and how the bright rays of the light are highlighting Mitsuha and her grandma, while the radio is in complete darkness. Let's go a couple seconds back when we get a good look at the room that they're eating in. Look at how cluttered the room is and how it's filled with warm tones, even in the darker parts of the room. And now let's look at the radio again. The shelf it's on is barren and has cold gray and blue tones. All these things communicate something to the viewer. The tilt up makes the radio seem important, even foreboding. The color scheme and lack of accessories make it feel alien to the rest of the house. And the darkness, well, I think you can figure that one out. Each one of these things were intentional decisions that the crew of the film made to communicate the idea of the scene. Mitsuha's relationship with her father,